Hey there, it's Irene Lyon and welcome to this video, to this YouTube channel, and to this world of healing trauma, nervous system health, and all things neuroplasticity. I want to riff on a topic today. I was inspired by a comment I saw in one of my YouTube videos that was revolving around the emotion anger and the importance and the healing impact of getting anger out in a safe, contained way. And I also want to bridge in this concept that maybe some of you have heard about. It's this sort of cultural kind of visual, and really in reality, the stiff British upper lip. Stiff British upper lip. It's even hard to say that. And so I'm going to read two things. First one is the definition when you look up this stiff upper lip thing on Wikipedia. So it's the phrase most commonly heard as part of the idiom keep a stiff upper lip, and has been traditionally been used to describe an attitude of British people, sorry Brits, but an attitude of British people in remaining resolute and unemotional when faced with adversity. A sign of weakness is trembling of the upper lip, hence the saying, keep the lip stiff. So this upper lip stiff. So if you know anything about anything, when someone is holding in an emotion, usually tears, there's a tremble that happens, right? And unfortunately, our culture, our society, humanity, especially in the Western world, we've brainwashed ourselves into thinking that emotional expression is bad, or certain types of emotional expression is good when done at a funeral, or at a movie, or at your wedding, or wherever it might be. And we have to change this. So I'm gonna, like I said, riff on some of these topics today and just talk about the importance of understanding the complexity of the human system. So I wanted to read that. And I even looked, on the Cambridge Dictionary on the internet, also said, in defining this stiff upper lip phenomena, someone who has a stiff, so hard to say it, stiff upper lip does not show their feelings when they are upset. Now, if you've been following me for a little while, or if you're new here, and you'll soon start to learn some of my favorite authors and mentors via the book world, specifically Gabor Mate talks about just the harm of holding an emotion, holding in things like anger, because it does make us sick. And I'll reference that book in the comments or in the show more section below. If you want to look at the research, it is there. The other person I'm thinking of right now, one of my favorite passages, and I'm going to be paraphrasing this, is from Robert SCAER. He is a medical doctor and really focused on how the nervous system and trauma gets stuck in the body and how it expresses in all sorts of disease, mental illness, etc. And so he would often say that for humans, our cages are cultural. For humans, our cages are often cultural. Having trouble with my words today. So what that basically means is how we've created a lot of our structures and systems, our culture, it's caged us. Now, there's some things about culture that are beautiful and joyous and celebratory and ritual and all sorts of gorgeous stuff that we have in all the different cultures on planet Earth. There's so much beauty in certain things. And then we've got the flip side where specifically, again, sorry Brits, but kind of that more Western, proper, prim, don't show emotions, don't show feeling, hold it all in, don't dance, don't move your pelvis, keep your tail tucked under and your shoulders back and your stomach sucked in. As I do that, I wouldn't be able to get very far in this video if I sat like that. So we need culture, because humans are, and I'll get into this in a second, we are unique, we are different than the animal kingdom, and we also have to understand how it has harmed us and why we need to start to understand how this is impacting our physiology, our biology, and how it's created pretty much most, if not all, of our chronic conditions. If you don't believe me on that, look up the statistics with the Adverse Childhood Experiences study. I'm not going to get into that today because I've done many videos and audios on that and articles. I'll post some of them below for you to check out. So The reason why I wanted to make this video wasn't because I was scrolling through the internet looking for definitions on stiff upper lips. It was a comment I got on a YouTube video that was on the importance of expressing anger and healthy aggression. Again, lots of videos on those. I'm not going to get into that today. I'll post them below. So this is what the person said. I make these same noises. So I was talking about the importance of growling and sighing and just getting sounds out of our body, which for some people feels foreign. Like, why would I do that? Because we have repressed it so much. But when we start to get regulated in our nervous system and feeling into these sensations, which are emotional by nature, we start to want to growl like the bear or hiss like that goose that's trying to protect, its little goslings. We start to find ourselves getting these things out. I can't remember who it was. It was one of my teammates not too long ago. I will read this, I promise. I don't know where they were or what they were doing, but they found themselves at one point growling at something. I don't know if they read something, if they saw something on the TV, and their child was like, "Mom, why are you growling?" It's like, "Oh, I just got angry at something and that just had to come out." And for a small child, that's not a big deal, right? They actually probably would think that that's pretty darn cool that mom's like growling at something she's reading. Whereas if we were to do that like in a restaurant, if I was just sitting by myself at a local coffee shop, something pissed me off and I all of a sudden was like, "Arr!" like that, the person would probably think I had some kind of schizophrenic mental illness. And this is where I hope you're seeing why this is a problem. Our biology needs to express, but then we have this human higher brain that's created a culture and a conditioning that has said expression is not good like that because that's what animals do. I hope and I think we're starting to move out of that. It's exciting to see more people get into this and know that they need to express emotions and energy. Again, like I said, the research is so conclusive that why wouldn't we? We know what we need to do to heal our physiology, our mental, our physical health, and our culture and our conditioning is trapping us in these cages, so to speak. So back to this comment. Wanted to give you context. They wrote, "I make these same noises when I'm expressing anger." It's weird how as humans we go back to this primal guttural noises and tones. It isn't weird. I'll get to that in a second. Our bodies know this stuff needs to get out, and we've just been trained to hold it in and keep it in. There's that stiff upper lip. So many have been shamed to think we are not supposed to get anger out, myself included, but it needs to come out in healthy ways, and this is definitely one of them. At first, it can be alarming to hear yourself making these noises, but when you realize we all do it, then you know this is the way it's supposed to be. Amen to that. And so, to just remind everyone who's watching this, human beings are really complex because we have got the biology, the organ systems, similar, identical to other mammals. Our house cat, our house dog, domestic dogs, lions, cows, that's not a best example because their stomachs are a bit different. Squirrels, animal kingdom, there's a lot of mammals out there that share our biology, our nervous system. They have fight, they have flight. When they're afraid and they can't defend, they go into freeze. They can become, all that stuff is, we know that is true. So human beings, us, me, you, people around us, our kids, we've got this biology, this mammalian biology that is so important, right? We need to have these survival impulses so that when we are in danger, we protect, we go into survival responses, and then of course, what is supposed to happen is when that threat is gone, we come out of them. But then we have this higher brain, and this higher brain, this cortex, this prefrontal cortex of ours, all this stuff in here, it is important, and it's why we have iPhones and homes and electricity and planes that fly and all the things that we've created as human beings. That's given us that, right? There's a reason why the domestic cats and the primates haven't figured that out yet. Yes, some of them can use tools to get food, but they haven't done this yet, right? So we are incredibly complex. We have this biology, and then we have this complexity. And the complexity is what creates the beauty and the creativity and all this technology, but it also creates the conditioning and the culture. Now, culture is not bad at all, but when that culture starts to harm our biology, say that one more time, when that culture, when the conditioning, when this cortex starts to hurt our biology, our autonomic physiology, health, then we get into trouble. Hope you're seeing that connection. And so part of this shift, part of this re-understanding of who we are and what we're supposed to do and how we need to heal, it's not just about working with the biology, and it's not just working with the higher brain, it's bringing them together. We have to bring them together because, and I'm going to use an example that I was thinking about. So this idea that I've just read, we need to get our emotions out, we can't hold them in. Someone might say, well, Irene, if a mother is angry at her child or a school teacher is pissed off because she got into a fight that morning and she's got all this rage and emotion coming out, like, well, they shouldn't be, or she shouldn't be. I'll use the school teacher example. That school teacher shouldn't be hitting her students or breaking down in tears because of something that occurred earlier on in her day or in her life. And the answer is yes. And so someone might say, well, Irene, isn't that suppressing her emotions? And I say, well, yes, it is, but it's contextual, right? So this is, again, where we can use our higher brain. We can use it to pause. That school teacher could pause and say, oh my God, I'm about to hit little Johnny because he just spilled, the paint on the floor. And this has nothing to do with little Johnny spilling the paint on the floor. It's because of this thing that occurred in my life that has really upset me, and I've got all this anger. But then that happens, it triggers something in that person, and they want to strike, or they want to scream, they want to punish, go to the corner, how dare you be so clumsy? I mean, there's a million examples we could give for how parents would get into the same situation where it's just a young, innocent child who's made a mistake. They're learning, right? They don't have their whole skill set and dexterity on board. They just spilled something. It's no big deal. But then these emotions that we have held, for some of us, into our ancestry come out in situations that have nothing to do with why that emotion was stored in the first place. So just wanted to make that contextual distinction, because someone might say, oh, well, you shouldn't go around hitting people and harming people just to get your emotions out because you're pissed at something else that occurred or a trauma that occurred to you when you were young. And the answer is, you're absolutely right. We shouldn't be. But we should be using this higher brain to find ways, creative ways, to heal these wounds, heal that stiff British upper lip that so many of us in Western society have adopted. Some countries are better and worse than others. But again, so to review, we've got this higher brain, so important. It's created this stuff. It is so complex. And because of that, it can also keep us from expressing our reactions, our emotions, our hurts, our pains, but we can also use it in a good reasoning way, a higher brain way, an adult, mature way to say, not now, I'm feeling this and I gotta hold this in because I don't want to harm this person, and we can do this later. Remember what that Irene girl told me, oh, I gotta do this not here, but in a different context. So we gotta use our higher brain for that reason. And then the other thing too with this culture, this concept of our, Robert SCAER, again, trauma specialist doctor, saying that our cages as humans are cultural. I'm going to share a story just kind of for another kind of vignette. As human beings, I'm going to give you the challenge to start to break out of some of these caged responses, these cages that we're in. I was thinking about some things before I was recording this video, and I was thinking about a time I was at an airport. This was years ago. And I think I was getting on a flight that was going to be really long, and I knew it, maybe to Australia, to Sydney, so like 15 plus hours on a plane. And I didn't want to just sit in a chair and wait. And I had a big pack on me, so I didn't want to walk, through the airport and just get some movement. So I got onto the floor and I started doing some movements. I started doing some rolling movements, the stuff that I teach my students, stretching, and it isn't just, yoga. I wasn't doing yoga. If I had done yoga, no one would have bothered me. But I was doing something that looked a little weirder, right? Something that a kid might do in a playground. And I'm to the point now where I don't care if someone sees me and it's safe. It's, the floor is probably cleaner than in my own house. I'm going to do it. And this woman, and bless her, she saw me, and I've done this enough times to know what was about to happen. She came up and you could tell she was uncomfortable because I was doing this. But at the same time, she was envious because her and her husband were looking for somewhere to sit. And I was just moving and flowing, and we were getting on the same plane. And she said, I can't remember exactly what she said, but there was this nervous energy. Well, wow, you're pretty fit. Look at that amazing movement. And I just kind of smiled. I'm like, yeah, I need to move a little bit. We're going to sit for a while. And she's like, yeah, you're right. We are. And then she just went and plopped down and sat with her husband. Again, nothing wrong with sitting when you're waiting for an airplane to take off. But it just shows how we get uncomfortable sometimes when we see this difference. I've done something that's not what people expect to see someone doing at an airport, specifically not a 40-year-old woman who isn't, like we see kids doing that. We let kids go play in the airport playground and then we just sit and watch them, right? Same with kids at a playground. We watch the kids play, but the adults aren't playing with them. Why aren't we playing with them? I don't get it, right? Anyways, I have so many stories. I'm sure you have some stories about this and seeing this. So to wrap this kind of back to this idea of how we stiffen ourselves. Oh, and another thing about that, this whole upper lip thing, that isn't just a metaphor, it's real. When someone has held in their emotions, their anger, their pain, their smiles, right? The movement, the sounds, it stiffens the physiology. It stiffens the somatic body, the muscles. This is why somatic work, working with the body, getting the movements back, is so important. Because not only does the emotion get trapped inside, but the way in which we express it and move it out gets trapped. So if we think about all the people right now, who I'm sure there's millions, who are holding in their guts because they don't have a flat stomach, or they're holding in gas because it's rude to pass gas in public or at the dinner table, or burp. The amount of people sneezing right now who are pressurizing their brain and all of that because they are taught to, hold the sneeze in. This is all over time harmful to the biology. It's not allowing us to express. And here's another piece to understand. So many of you are here and you're watching this and you're interested in my work and what we do with my programs because you want to heal trauma. You want to heal the chronic illness, the mental illnesses, the relational troubles, the parental troubles. You want to work with this stuff. It's stored trauma. That trauma is going to stay stuck. It's not going to have an organic release if we can't be with our biology, with the mammalian system that we have. Animals in the wild do not ask permission when they fart or burp or sneeze or hiccup or get angry. They just do it, right? And so human beings, we need to start learning how to just do it, just get these things out. We also have to use our higher brain to help ourselves do that. And I just think it's so important for us to start to see these distinctions, how our culture has created beauty and creativity and so much good stuff, but it's also created these cages that are keeping our biology sick and unwell and stunted, depressed and suppressed, to name just a few. So thank you to this person who wrote that comment. on that video. I'll post what that video is in the show more section so you can check it out. I will post some other videos, specifically one on creativity that released not too long ago. I'm also going to post another video on the importance of working with anger and how anger can be medicinal when we learn how to work with it in a way that is safe and contained and has the foundation so that when we can get that stuff out, it doesn't harm us, it doesn't harm other people, and it's healing. It's just healing. All right, everyone, thank you so much for being here watching this video. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, please do so. Leave a comment, share this with your friends. I appreciate everyone who's listening and learning. And I'd like to know, give me your feedback on this. Have you found yourself holding in emotions? Or have you tried to just get a little more flow out of your body since you've been watching these videos? Give us your stories below. As I said, your stories and your comments give me more inspiration to make more videos, so I appreciate it. Take very good care, and we will see you next time.